after a few weeks of being out on the road. The content should be looking up from here because this is what my show is supposed to be about. Happy to be out on the road again. Landscape starts getting a little interesting after Alamosa, and it's a lot of uphill, downhill. You actually kind of pass through a lot of different zones, I would call them, on this ride. You get mountainy, you get foothills, it even gets a little deserty. You pass great sand dunes on this trip. I've stopped there before, but did not on this trip. I just love that big sky. It just really makes me feel like things aren't so crowded. And I like passing through the little mountain towns. Being July weekend, things were pretty busy. And but it was still an enjoyable ride. I wasn't stuck in a parade all the time. Just remember to stay on target. Stay on target. Stay on target. Stay on target. So I have driven hard to Durango, Colorado. I drove 13 and a half hours yesterday and 12 hours today, and I am now here with my friend Shaheen. I am here because I had spinal surgery a year ago, and the hardware that was taken out of my back, I thought it would be really cool to have it made into some jewelry, and Shaheen is going to do that for me. She's a jewelry maker, so she's hooking that up for me. Also, we're here to talk about some of her road stories. This gal has traveled a bunch, and you ended up in Durango because...
Yeah, you know, thank you for, I've loved you for so many years. Thank you for, Dina and I go way back. I mean, we go back to like Austin and camping out in Austin and doing star parties and, you know, being outside, doing fun outside activities. It started when I met you.
Nice.
So,
Cheers.
Thank you, yeah, yeah. For sure. I mean, that's the deal is like, I grew up in Austin and I didn't travel very much until I started working at a gear store, an outdoor store, and I got exposed to, you know, doing stuff outside like our star parties.
Right.
And then just got the travel fever, but traveling kind of vagabond style.
Right,
you know,
right.
Which obviously is just, you know, that's how you travel, and it's a really fun way to travel.
Yeah.
And you get to experience different places in a much different way.
Yeah.
So Durango is such a cool town. You know, it is this cute little mountain town, and it's a great spot. I was living in Mexico for a while with my boyfriend at the time, and we had traveled all over Mexico, which is a whole nother vagabond story.
That was the other story.
And there's a lot of good stories on the Mexico story for sure, but you know, living in, you know, just out of your backpack for months and then coming back to Austin, you know, living like a vagabond and then coming back to Austin, all of a sudden I was like, I don't want to live in a city anymore, you know, and I was like, this is just too much traffic, and I want to just go live in a little small town, you know, because I was living all crazy on beach, you know, settings and things like that. So decided, let's just get a van and, you know, make a bed in it, make a little, you know, some gear closet kind of situation. And
wanting to live the van life before it was a hashtag.
So true. I was 20 years old and we were just putting together this cool van and, you know, building it out, and the decision was we were going to live out of a van and we were going to drive to Alaska. We were going to drive the van and live in it and then take the van on the ferry to go live in Alaska and work on a fishing boat. I had never seen mountains. I had never seen snow. And I was like, I think there's snow in mountains in Alaska. I'm 20 years old. What do I know? I don't know anything. You know, like I'm just like, yeah, that's where snow in mountains is, in Alaska, which there is.
Yeah.
But anyway, on the way to Alaska, some friends call us up and say, we're in Durango and we are working out on this property. The owner of the property has died, and in his will, he wants the property to become a habitat for sustainability. And we need some help. It's a big piece of property. It's 800 acres.
Could you explain what Habitat for Sustainability is?
Yeah, so, you know, to have a property that is self-sustainable, you know, that it has a garden that can feed people, and it has a water source and a kitchen and places to stay, but it doesn't necessarily take, you know, a full setup to the grid. You know, just kind of, it has something that you can sell on the property, you know, like grain or whatever. It has a bunch of different potentials to kind of
So
take
it's
care
not
of
just
itself.
sustaining the people who live on it, it's more community.
It takes a village.
Nice.
It does take quite a few people to keep it all going. You
Yeah,
know, there's got to
yeah.
be people willing to. And so we were like, sure, whatever, you guys need some help. So we went to La Boca, which is just outside of Durango and Ignacio. And it was, I gotta pause. Out at La Boca, it was basically a property of 800 acres or so along the river. And the person who had owned the property had a lot of stuff collected on the property. So there was just trailers full of
Oh.
things that he'd gotten from auctions.
Uh-huh.
And he was a really cool guy. He wrote a book about UFOs, and he was a really interesting character for sure. And, you know, we needed to clean up this property and just make it very livable for, you know, a little small group. So we built some outhouses. We fixed the tractor and mowed down the grass and then baled it. So we sold the hay, and with selling the hay, we made beans from rice. Anyway, basically we were living like hippies on this little property.
Right?
And we thought we were just going to be there for a couple weeks.
And then continue on to Alaska.
And then continue on to Alaska, exactly. But it just kind of, one project kind of led to another, and we were sleeping in a teepee, you know, with a little fire in the middle. Sometimes we would sleep in our van. Just kind of depended on the night. You know, we built a little bunkhouse that had some hammocks and things like that. All kinds of things, a garden, a chicken coop, everything you can imagine. But that's the thing, is 2 weeks easily just turned into a few months.
Okay.
And while we had those few months of working on the property and fixing it up and building things, we got to go on really cool hikes, and we got to go walk around downtown and meet the people, and it was just a charming experience. And then it started to get cold, too cold to sleep in the teepee down by the river.
Too cold to go to Alaska.
And, you know, I thought, they got mountains here,
And you're already here.
and it snows here, so we need to stay here. And that was 19 years ago.
So you like it here. That's great.
Yeah. And, you know, starting out at that ranch, it was so cool. And it did really introduce me to this area and to this land in a really special way.
Yeah.
You know, just living off of nothing, and
Right.
it was really cool.
Okay, so I saw the buffalo head in the living room, and I know it's tied to this story.
That's true.
Tell me the story about the buffalo.
Right. Okay. So we're a bunch of poor hippies, right? And we're just living outside and, you know, sleeping in our vans or sleeping in the teepee. And we just buy big bags of beans and rice and oatmeal. And that's pretty much what we eat every day. You know, oatmeal for breakfast and beans and rice for lunch. Very simple. If somebody has something extra to add to the meal, it's very exciting. And we became friends with this man named Richard, who has a buffalo ranch, and he would take us to the buffalo ranch, you know, drive us over there, and, you know, we're just a bunch of young kids in our 20s and want to go to a buffalo ranch? Like, yes! So we became really good friends with Richard, and he's a great guy, and at one point, one of the buffaloes had gotten out.
Okay.
And he needed help rounding up that buffalo. So he came to the ranch to ask one of us to help, because, you know, we're all just available.
Okay,
and-
wait a minute. I've seen buffalo.
Yeah.
they're pretty fucking huge.
Yeah. They are
Tatanka.
big. They are big. Right, absolutely. And I have ridden a horse once in my life, but for some reason I was like, I'll help you. I don't know what happened, but I was just like, this is an adventure and I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
so I went with him and we got on horses and rounded up this buffalo that was kind of like out past the gate and just kind of got him back in the general area.
Like you're patting his butt.
You know, we were just kind of, he's like, just follow me. And I'm like,
Okay.
How do you turn this thing on? You know, I don't know, you know, but it was great. And I actually had a really good connection with the horse and it was a good experience. And I felt comfortable. But anyway, so we captured the buffalo and it was good.
Right.
Now, a couple weeks later, Richard shows back up at the property and he says, hey, Shaheen, like, I got a gift for you. And I was like, all right. And so he's like, remember that buffalo we rounded up? He's like, I took him to slaughter and I brought you the head and the hide.
Nice.
Totally. You would say like, yes, this is awesome. Except that we were living outside and it was like straight from the slaughter.
Oh no.
So I don't know if you've ever seen that like body exhibit where it has all the flesh.
I went in Vegas. Yes. So okay, got it.
So it's like a really cool buffalo skull with
Wow.
eyes and muscle tissue and a tongue and, you know, some hair patches and, you know, just dripping blood and a huge sack of a hide that's just a heavy, bloody, you know, fatty, you know, got some flies on it. And I live outside. I bathe in the river. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what to do with this. Anyway, it was a huge mission. The hide is its whole own story of me welding a big frame and stretching it over the hide.
You did it yourself?
Yeah, it wasn't good, okay, because I was using like rocks and
But
stuff.
still, the attempt.
It
Okay,
was,
come on.
Yeah, thank you. It was, I didn't do a great job, but the skull, okay,
Yeah.
so I did pretty good on the skull, but this is how it had to go. So day one, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put it up in a tree because I've seen horror films. Birds like to peck out eyeballs. Put it in the tree. Okay, right. So I put it up in the tree and left it up there for like a week or two. I look, the eyeballs are gone. I'm like, okay, game on. So then I go to get it out of the tree.
Uh-oh.
And back to the horror film, a pocket of like black blood just like spills down my chest. And like, I'm like,
Oh no.
again, I shower in the river. So it's like, how do you get like black blood, animal blood? Anyway, so I got it out of the tree, but it still has like muscle tissue. It doesn't smell good. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put it on an ant pile.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of ant piles in property. So I found a big ant pile and I put it on an ant pile.
Yeah.
And then I put a big gallon drum over it so that the dogs wouldn't get to it. And I was like, cool, it's good. But the dogs still knew it was under there and eventually knocked it over and kind of got to it for like, I saw them get to it that day, so I stopped them before they ate anything.
Yeah.
But I heard the barrel fall over and I was like, what's that barrel? Anyway, so they got it out and I was like, I got it back from them and it was fine. So I got some tissue off from that. But then I just decided to boil a giant pot of water over fire.
Okay.
And I put it in there.
Right.
But then it started to get soft because I did like a whole day fire. The tissue started to get soft, so I had to get that out. And then I had to put in another bucket full of bleach water, and that got it good.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story long, it ended up working out with a little bit of elbow grease and just some creativity. And now I have this amazing buffalo skull that has meant so much to me all these years.
Nice.
And
That's awesome.
yeah, and it just reminds me of another time of just living down by the river, you know.
In a van.
Yeah, and I specifically wore these earrings because I bought these earrings the very first year I moved to Durango,
Nice.
which was about 19 years ago.
That's great.
And I just every time I wear them, I just remember that time in my life, like, you know.
That's a great story.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's a cool town, and I'm lucky to get to live here.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I still haven't made it to Alaska though.
Right. You need to do that.
I know. I should probably just go. You know, it's like.
Thank you, Shaheen, for being on the show. I sure do appreciate it. Wish we would have had a little more time together. Thank you, people out there for watching. We'll be back next week. The show should be more interesting from here on out because I am back on the road. See ya!